Well, it sure was nice for Doodle to invite us to pizza.
Oh yeah, totally. Although I wonder why she's sitting in the back of the restaurant instead of sitting with us.
Enjoy your pizza, boys.
Maybe she's expecting someone?
You mean us? The ones she invited?
Why, hello there, fine gentlemen. Here is the pizza that you ordered.
Oh, finally! I've been starved!
So you think tomatoes on pizza is redundant? Why do we hear boss music? Oh, not again.
Luxter, what's the meaning of this?
Look, can we not do this right now?
Oh, let's not do this right now. We wouldn't be doing this right now if you didn't pull this shit. You know, I do not like tomatoes on my pizza. There's already tomato sauce. We do not need this on here. You know this, Luxter. You know this, and you still—
I don't like tomatoes on pizza either. I have no idea why these are even on here.
Oh yeah, you don't know how they got on there, despite you being the one who made the order. You know, I just wanted to be nice and make the order and to just pay with my Koopa credit card. But no, you had to be the gentleman and pay, despite you being a clown.
Hey, I am a jester. I'll have you know that is a
That's a nice way of saying clown.
Well,
Hey, thanks for putting tomatoes on the pizza for me, Sarah. Here's your tip.
Why, thank you, milady. Wait a minute, this is Monopoly Box.
You're Canadian. You'll be fine. You use Monopoly money anyway.
You know what, fine. I actually lost all the money I had from Monopoly anyways.
We wouldn't be having these fights if you didn't disrespect my pizza opinions in the first place.
I wasn't even trying to disrespect them this time.
This time. Oh, that's how you want to do this, you little
Oh, look, commentary material, yay!
Commentary material? Like, what the hell is this? Where does this even come from? We're killing each other over tomatoes, not commentating.
Why don't we just bury the hatchet and commentate on Pokemon?
I don't know, I guess. I suppose there are better things to get mad over. But first...
Why Motham?
I mean, moths are annoying.
Are you implying something?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot the context. So, this gaming YouTuber called Smith Plays made a countdown on what he believed to be the top 10 worst Pokemon in Sword and Shield.
We're going to be looking at the top 10 worst designed Pokemon of Generation 8 Sword and Shield. Bad designs, lazy designs, or just absolute rehashes of older Pokemon that I just can't stand.
And as the fitted parentheses implies, he should be basing this ranking off of the Pokemon's designs. Keyword being should.
We'll be getting to that later. For now, let's just begin.
So Squavit is a Pokemon that we've seen exactly 7 times before. Every single generation, we get a Squavit. In Gen 1, it was Rattata. In Gen 2, it was the squirrel Pokemon Sentret. Every single generation since, pretty much, we've seen some sort of rehash of the weak, normal-type Pokemon that you encounter on the first route. It evolves into a not very good weak, normal type, and you never use it. In the case of Squavit, it evolves into Greedence, which I also really just hate. I hate truly how little divergences Game Freak takes. Things like this, where it's literally like you just do the exact same thing, and no one even likes it. I get that you have to have weak Pokemon in the first routes, but it doesn't need to be the exact same thing. On top of that, we've seen squirrels before. Sentret, for example. So it's not only bad and repetitive, it's not even a new-looking Pokemon. Overall, really hate Squavit and Greedence, and they come in at number 10.
So do you want to go back to killing each other over tomatoes?
No, because we have a novella to write about this number 10 segment. So you're saying that the Squavit line is exactly like the other early game Pokemon? Are you sure about that? Because last time I checked, Squavit wasn't purple, and more importantly, wasn't a rat that looked like it wanted to eat you and your children. And while Raticate's color scheme is admittedly more similar, not only does it have a much scarier disposition than Greedent, but it's also shorter and a lot furrier to the point where it looks like a giant hairball, while Greedent is basically just a fat squirrel.
Sentret, while also being a squirrel, well kinda, has a tanuki tail, is extra thick with a wider body shape and arms, a ring on its stomach along with much longer ears. And then Furret drops the whole squirrel look and becomes a ferret and also a long boy rather than a big chunga-wunga like Greedent and its pre-evolution.
The same thing can be said for Linoon as well, since it's also a very slim-looking Pokemon that seems to take influence from badgers, weasels, and ferrets.
Oh my.
And, since you seem to be focusing more on concept than design here, that's not even counting how Zigzagoon is a raccoon that's based on, well, the zigzag lines, which gives it a different motif from Cheeks Galore here.
Bidoof and B-Barrel are the most similar looking, with both of them being rather chubby and fluffy. But still, one line is a squirrel, the others are beavers with webbed feet with a different color, a short fluffy tail for Bidoof, and a long flat tail for B-Barrel, lack of ears and all that.
Then we have Patrat and Watchog, which seem to take influence from meatgrass prairie dogs and groundhogs, while sporting a set of crazy red eyes and are, yet again, much slimmer than the fat squirrel. Not to mention that they were conceptualized as Pokemon that act as a scout who alerts people of danger, which is something that sets them apart from the squirrels.
Bunnelby is a rabbit with long ears, as rabbits tend to do, fur around the collar, and a very short tail, while Diggersby is about the same but with ear fingers and a fur ring around the body.
And finally, how is Detective Donald Trump anything like Big Chungus? Everybody's a critic. Alright, if I could go into more detail here, Yungoos and Gumshoos are based on Mongoose, have a whole detective motif going on, and have noticeable sharp teeth and blonde hair. What about that is too similar to Baby Squirrel and Fat Squirrel?
And you know, despite us going on this giant tangent picking apart the design differences of each early game normal type, honestly, we could have just skipped out on doing that and mentioned that you dislike the design, not because of the design, but because it's an early game normal type. And they all look the same while ignoring the differences they do have, like rat, and beaver, and rabbit, and not squirrel. The closest you came to talking about the design was when you said we already had a squirrel Pokemon with Centrant, which we already showed how it barely looks anything like Squavit. Like, come on man, if you were really gonna do this, you could have at least used Pachirisu instead. You know, the squirrel Pokemon that looks a lot more like Squavit than the squirrel Pokemon that barely even looks like a squirrel.
Not to mention that your complaint more or less boils down to, oh, they were using the same concept and that's bad. Which even if we ignore how most of these Pokemon had more to their concepts than just being an early game rodent, the complaint with the design shouldn't just be that they're the same concept. By this logic, I guess Grookey, Corviknight, and Nickit should be on your list, since we already had a Grass Monkey, Metal Bird, and mischievous Dark-type Fox Pokemon before, and surprise surprise, none of them are on your list.
And I'm also talking about rehashes. I want to talk about the Galarian Meowth line. So in Generation 7, we had Alolan Meowth and Persian, which I really didn't particularly love, but they were at least different. Actually, this line is also different, but terrible. So Galarian Meowth doesn't look great, albeit pretty much just kind of a different Meowth. But its evolution, Berserker, is pure garbage. I hate Berserker. It's a worse looking Galarian Meowth, and it's Steel type. What about this Pokemon is Steel? It's not Steel. I'm sorry. It's just objectively not Steel or Metal or anything of that nature. It's got a bit of a clever name, and it looks terrible. And I'm sorry, but I hate it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a Steel type. Except for the top of its head looking more like a metal helmet, looking more like a solid material rather than fur like the rest of its body, even having the light be more reflective and shining off it a little more than the rest of the body, along with the metal claws it has. Sure, Berserker doesn't look like the traditional Steel type, being a lot more furry than most, but still, it does seem like you're overlooking the rather obvious design quirks that say Steel.
Also, you're saying that this looks worse than Galarian Meowth because it doesn't look like a Steel type, even though it's also a Steel type who's wearing even less metal than its evolution. So what about Berserker is worse than Galarian Meowth? If there were other reasons, then we wouldn't know, since you only focus on how it doesn't look like a Steel type when Galarian Meowth is a worse offender of that.
Moving on to number 8, we got a Pokemon that I don't necessarily hate, I'm just disappointed with, and this is Morpeko. Okay, so Morpeko, I actually like the idea for this Pokemon. Every single turn, it changes its design. That's kind of cool. You know, we've seen other Pokemon like this, and I'm okay with this idea. I'm actually kind of a fan of the designs as well. You know why?
So, in this top 10 about worst Galar Pokemon designs, you say that you like the design of the number 8 entry.
Well, to be fair, he does go on to say that he put it on the list because he hates the concept of Pika clones.
This is another thing that I just don't understand why Game Freak does. Every single generation, they do a Pikachu variant.
Well, then it's just like the Squavit segment all over again, where he's disliking it not because of the actual design, but because of the concept of it being a Pika clone. Concept is not design, Luxter, and it's even worse here because he said he liked Morpeko's design. So what the hell does it being a Pika clone matter? It's clearly not a problem for him if he still likes the design despite Pika clone. So what the hell? This is just... This guy's going on the does not exist list. Give me a moment.
In Gen 2, it was Pichu. Actually, not that bad. In Gen 3, it was Plusle and Minum. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And I feel like nobody really truly likes any of these versions.
At me next time! The Dene is cute, and Morpeko is also cute.
And this is why we don't talk in general statements.
We tolerate them, but they're just rehashes of Pikachu. So don't hate Pikachu, and I think it's a great idea, but it's just boring that it's another version of Pikachu.
Alright, so why is this above Squivit ingredient then? You said you didn't like the Pokemon's concept in both entries, but you at least thought Morpeko's design was fine on its own, while with the Squirrels you outright said you thought their designs were bad. So anyway, the next entry is Impidimp, and despite being another instance of him putting a Pokemon he's indifferent to above Pokemon he hates...
Impidimp is one that I don't hate, I don't have any hate for it, but I just can't warm up to it.
He at least somewhat focuses on its design instead of its concept, so we'll just move on.
This is Indeedee, a psychic normal type. Kind of interesting, but like my main question with this Pokemon is, did we really need it? As a psychic normal type, it is kind of cool that it resists Ghost, but other than that, there's just nothing special about this Pokemon. My issue with Indeedee is that it's just bland. It is just truly bland, and I just can't see anyone feeling the need to really have this on their team other than for that typing, which isn't even that great.
What about Indeedee is so bland? Is it the muted color scheme? Is it the stoic facial expressions? You can't just say it's bland and expect everyone in your audience to see where you're coming from. You should at least point out something that gives off this impression. Bowser dude, what are you doing?
Sit back, Luxter. Let the big boys handle this.
Big boys? Are you implying something again?
Yes, Luxter. I'm always implying something. Now let me end this man's whole career.
Look, Bowser dude, this is just a list about Pokemon. Maybe we should just calm down.
So let's start off with you saying that we don't need Indeedee, pretty much implying you think the Pokemon shouldn't exist. Which I want to know, why? Because it's bland? Well, that's dumb, since that's pretty much saying, since I don't find it that interesting, we don't need them on. Or is it because you think it has nothing special going for it? Well, that doesn't work either, since by your own admission, it does have something special about it. Being a psychic normal type, which makes it a psychic type that can safely fight ghost types. And even beat them, since it can learn Shadow Ball.
Well...
Yeah, I know, Luxter. I know. The typing isn't special to Indeedee, as Giraffaric and Oranguru have it as well. But guess what? In this video at least, Smith does think it's unique to Indeedee. So if this is the reason he thinks we don't need Indeedee, not only does it shit all over his logic, but it also makes it very questionable. Like you're just going to brush off the one special thing you think it has just to say we don't need them on? And you know, while I'm here, I might as well dunk on you saying that nobody would want this on the team other than the typing. At me next time. Indeedee has some different stats and learn different moves depending on gender. Female Indeedee is more of a defensive mon with decent special attack and more of a supportive moveset, while male Indeedee is a fast special attacker. Sure, the speed and special attack aren't the best out there, but 95 and 105 are still good, and we'll make sure it will go first a lot of the time and hit hard. And with 95 special defense, it can take some special damage as well. It also has the hidden ability of Psychic Surge, which gives a free psychic terrain when Indeedee is sent out, which prevents priority moves from being used and boosts psychic type attacks. And Indeedee is the only mon in Sword and Shield that can have this ability.
Well, at least until the Crown of Tundra expansion comes out and brings back Tapu Lele, the only other Pokemon that has Psychic Surge. But A, that was announced after Smith's video, so it's not like he knew this. B, the fact that a regular Pokemon can do something you normally need a legendary Pokemon for in the first place would make it somewhat unique. And C, while Tapu Lele does have better stats than either form of Indeedee, it's also a different type, which means they have a different set of weaknesses, and considering how Ghost and Steel types are pretty popular and competitive at the moment, that could incentivize someone to use Indeedee over Tapu Lele if they wanted a mon that wasn't weak to those types.
Which, going back a bit, could be seen as something special to Indeedee, at least in the boundaries of Sword and Shield.
You know, this is really my fault now that I think about it. This is what happens when I try to be nice in this community.
And moving on to number 5, we got a Pokemon that I've looked at before, and this is Cramorant. Cramorant, the Stork Water-type Pokemon. Actually, my biggest qualm with this Pokemon is not so much of its look, but actually kind of what it stands for.
So in other words, the design isn't the reason why you're putting it so high on a worst Pokemon designs list.
Why the hell is this even titled a worst designs list? This is obviously not a worst designs list, like come on!
And really it just stems from Pelipper. I just find Pelipper to be so similar to this Pokemon, and it wasn't even removed from the Generation Dex. And when I look at Cramorant, I'm just like, we didn't need this.
I swear, this guy doesn't know what the meaning of similar is. Like, one detail matches up with 2 different things, and that automatically means they're the exact same. Yeah, because the water flying bird that's a physically defensive special attacker is the exact same as the water flying bird that's a specially defensive mixed attacker that's also faster than it by 20 points. Also, Gulp Missile. We can't forget about Gulp Missile.
Well, to be fair, he's probably referring more to their designs here.
Oh yeah, because he's totally been sticking to design throughout this whole list, and he totally didn't say that his issue with Cramorant wasn't so much the design, but rather the concept. Yeah, sure. You're so right, Luxter. Just like how you're so right about tomatoes!
Moving on, if we are talking about their designs, then I don't see where you're coming from. Firstly, Pelipper is based on pelicans, while Cramorant is based off cormorants, if the wordplay wasn't enough of an indication for you. Pelipper is mostly white, with light blue being a secondary color, while Cramorant is more of a mix of electric blue and periwinkle. And that's ignoring how the body types are vastly different, since Cramorant is a lot fluffier than Pelipper, has a beak that doesn't take up half of its body, and has green eyes and a pupil rather than a black eye with a line in between it. The only real similarity is that they're both goofy-looking water birds, but that's hardly enough of an indication to say that it wasn't needed, since by that logic, any Pokemon that's vaguely similar to another one isn't needed.
I mean, that's something that stands with every single Pokemon generation. You know, you get some that you just don't like, but this guy just, to me, feels very, unnecessary. You just don't... Unnecessary. You don't need this Pokemon.
Yes, even though there are a ton of differences that I'm ignoring, it wasn't needed at all because it's vaguely similar to this older Pokemon. I'd love to hear this guy's opinion on the anime's characters.
Yo, Tippers, get over here for a minute!
Bowser dude, we're not going to make this into a date.
No, it's not about that. We're going on a date on Friday anyways.
No, we're not!
Yes, we are, Tippers! Ugh, forget that for now. This guy said our second son, Cramorant, shouldn't exist.
What did you just say, you little bitch?
Oh, what have you done? She's going to unleash the scream!
So moving on to number 4, we've got the laziest design of Generation 8. This is Silicobra and Sandaconda. Okay, so visually you can probably already see my issue with this Pokemon, but let me break down why these are so specifically terrible. Okay, so the obvious bet is that they're just snakes. They are literally just snakes. The final evolution Sandaconda has himself wrapped around him, but it's just a snake.
Arrokuda and Barracuda. Just Barracuda fish. Not on your list.
Yamper and Baldhound. They're just dogs. Not on your list.
Choodle and Dreadnought. Just snapping turtles. Not on your list.
Wooloo is just a sheep. One of the most popular Galar Pokemon. You see the problem here, right?
The thing that makes me so mad about these two Pokemon is that they take words from ground. So they use the sill and sand words to give them the idea that, oh, they're these ground-dwelling snakes. They live in the desert and that they're ground Pokemon. Here's the thing about snakes. A lot of them live in desert areas. The thing that they tried to make unique with this Pokemon is an inherent trait of most snakes, which would be like the equivalent of calling a flying type Pokemon Bird Flymon, or calling it like Air Kitty. It's like, yeah, we know it exists in that it's a bird. And with these two Pokemon, it's the exact same thing, but for the ground.
Oh, so like Gligar, whose name is based on the words gargoyle and glide, the thing that gargoyles and indeed most flying types tend to do. Or a Beautyfly, being based on the words beauty and butterfly, despite how most butterflies are known for looking beautiful. Or Toxicroak, being a poisonous frog, or Bunnelby, being a bunny that tunnels into the ground. Or, to use some previous examples, Wooloo being a sheep with wool, and Dreadnought being a snapping turtle that gnaws on things. Now sure, just because other Pokemon are guilty of this, that doesn't mean you have to like it, but you're acting like Sandaconda is setting a new low when this type of naming scheme has been used many times before.
Moving on to number 3, a bit of a low blow here, but I kinda gotta say it. It is Galarian Stunfisk. Okay, I don't want to hate on Stunfisk. He has gotten too much hate over the years, and I truly just want to give him some love on this video.
But Smith, it's just a fish.
His new design is not that bad. It might even be better than the original.
Which is why it's on your worst designs list.
Which isn't saying much, but still. My qualm here is with Game Freak. Why did this get a Galarian form? There are so many cool Pokemon that are deserving of a new form, and they went with Stunfisk.
So this Pokemon deserves more love, but when it does get more love, it's a bad thing now. Yeah, okay. Hey Luxter, I was really rude to you about the tomatoes. Let me show you some love.
Oh, thank you.
I am a nice guy. Anyways, couldn't the reason that Stunfisk got a Galarian form be what you just said? To give more love to a lesser-liked Pokemon? Heck, this wouldn't even be the first time they've done this. Back in the days of Mega Evolution, they gave a lot of weaker, lesser-liked Pokemon Mega Evolutions. Like Lopunny, Sableye, Beedrill, Mawile, and even Audino of all Mons. So they're not strangers to giving the Undermon some more love. Even in this gen, we got Corsola, Zigzagoon, and Farfetch getting Galarian forms and new evolutions. Along with mons like Butterfree and Garbodor getting Gigantamax forms. And I can even argue that giving lesser-like Pokemon like Stunfisk new forms is actually better. Since those cooler mons you say are more deserving of these forms, well, they're already cool mons. Mons that people like and are considered good. They're already fine enough as is, while mons like Stunfisk aren't considered that great. So giving new forms to these not-so-well-liked mons is a way for Game Freak to take a not-so-good mon and make it better. Instead of just giving an already good mon a boost that they probably don't need. Accept my love, clown!
The thing that makes this Pokemon even worse, though, is its ability. When it has its Ice Face thing going on, it doesn't actually take damage. And once you finally manage to get it off, if it hails, it comes back.
You're actually half wrong on that. Ice Face only protects SQ from physical attacks. Special attacks can still damage it just fine.
So not only is it just a bad-looking Pokemon, it's actually very frustrating to battle, and I feel like this only made me dislike it more. I mean, you know, like, despite the fact that it actually is, like, a pretty good Pokemon.
I mean, wouldn't that also be a testament to how good the ability is? Seeing as being able to block damage is already seen as really good, and being able to do that multiple times when Hail is active gives SQ good survivability, even if its defenses aren't the best without the cube. Sure, that doesn't mean it can't be annoying to fight, but at the same time it can be a big benefit to you as you can use SQ as well. And even then, the reliance on Hail definitely makes sure the ability doesn't get too overpowered.
And since you've been taking gameplay aspects into account for this list, why is this mon so high up when its ability makes it really good, which is more than what you said for Indeedee? Okay, I know I've been using the why is X above Y argument a lot, but if you're going to rank your entries, then you should give a reason as to why you feel one entry is worse than the others, because without it, your video is left with a lot of contradictions. If you don't want to deal with the hassle of making a criteria, then that's fine, though in that case, I'd recommend just talking about the entries in no particular order, sort of like what Cat Icarus did in his top 10 least favorite bosses video. And honestly, that's all I have to say about this countdown. The number one segment would just be repeating stuff we already said, so Bowser Dude, do you have any final thoughts?
Your pizza, sir.
Pizza time. That's my final thoughts.
Wait, I thought we already had pizza.
We do, but you see, we come back to the age-old problem of tomatoes. So while you're enjoying your disgusting tomatoes, I'll be here enjoying my olive oil pizza. Delicious.
Are there any olives on it?
Why the hell do you care?
Oh, I don't, but I know how you hate it when things are redundant.